Coming up, more than 500,000 people are in the dark tonight across Kentucky.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. A historic day of weather across the Commonwealth. In Lexington, it was the windiest day in modern history. At least 4 people are dead across the state. Governor Beshear confirmed 3 deaths in Simpson, Edmonson, and Logan counties. Another one was in Lexington when a tree fell on a car. More than 500,000 customers are without power from Paducah to Pikeville. Governor Beshear declared a state of emergency before the storms even started. But the worst, we hope, is now over. Let's begin our First Alert team coverage tonight with meteorologist Evan Hatter. Evan.
Steve, I do have some good news for you in that the high wind warning has been let go for most of us as we head through the nighttime hours. Before it did, though, it did produce quite a bit of damage in parts of the area. Here is the view, at least from earlier tonight. Jordan Chastain sends us video of some wind damage in Rockcastle County. This is near Broadhead Road out there where there's some roof damage to a barn. This was our very own Josh Turner sent us this photo. One of the billboards there along Main Street as you get ready to turn onto Turner Avenue there in Hazard fell down. Tree damage in London. This tree actually fell on a couple cars, trapped somebody in a car for a little while. There. The good news is there were no injuries with that, but still a scary scene. And we'll leave you with one nicer photo here as we finish things off. Double rainbow from Nikki Lewis a little bit earlier on tonight. We had some very gusty winds. Gusts since midnight from the Mesonet. West Liberty peaked at 68 miles per hour, 67 in Monticello, 56 mile per hour gusts from Hindman and Somerset. We go around the Commonwealth. We gusted to 69 at one point in Lexington. They actually had a higher gust of 78. Louisville had a gust of 79. Somerset gusted to 69. London gusted to 59. Jackson gusted to 54. Prestonsburg gusted to 52. The good news, yes, it's still windy outside, but we're starting to see those gusts come down. 38 in Jackson, 36 in Moorhead, 32 in Irvin, 28 miles per hour in Somerset. We're going to be near that wind advisory criteria for a little bit longer. That's 40 miles per hour, but it's going to slowly start to diminish as we head through tonight. We're past the destructive wind point. You're still going to hear it, but it's past the big time out there tonight. Now, the high wind warning for some of our counties there in West Virginia and Virginia, as well as Lawrence County and Kentucky, that'll likely be allowed to go as well soon. We had nearly 400 reports of severe weather in the state today, and several of those in our region. We'll have the details on a much quieter day ahead for Saturday in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, a much quieter weekend sounds nice. Thank you very much, Evan. Those strong winds created havoc for some in southern Kentucky this afternoon into tonight. Power crews are working to restore power across Pulaski County. Several buildings there were damaged by the wind or from trees that blew over. WYMT's Phil Pendleton shows us what people have been dealing with.
Utility poles were no match for the high winds Friday afternoon or for many tree branches, even entire trees.
Well, we've got the typical damage. We've got trees down. We've got them across the road. We've had some branches and stuff fall onto some houses.
One large branch fell onto a home along with a power line on Highway 1003 in Mount Victory. There were numerous power outages all over the county, including broken poles, which take considerably longer to fix. Some roads were closed, including part of Kentucky 192 east of Somerset.
Just got a picture in Eubank where a tree has come down on a structure. I don't know if it's abandoned or somebody lives there.
The winds also blew out part of the roof of the Cumberland nursing home. The 80 residents there were told were not in harm's way. Officials say events like this, though, do send a strong message.
As I heard said many times, don't be scared, be prepared. Get yourself ready. This is an anomaly that is going to happen this time of year, and prepare yourself for what could happen. Don't wait till it happens.
Both Kentucky Utilities and South Kentucky RECC crews were quickly dispatched and were working through the high winds.
They just need to be real careful being in those bucket trucks up at those heights with this wind blowing.
Working in the worst of it, get the lights back on. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Pulaski County emergency officials say as far as they know, there have been no injuries in their county. More than 500,000 Kentuckians, as we've mentioned, are still without power tonight, including tens of thousands here in eastern Kentucky. As of just before 10 o'clock tonight, Pulaski County had more than 10,000 outages, Wayne County more than 6,000, Wolfe County was at nearly 1,400, Jackson at 2,400, and Laurel at 5,600. In total, eastern Kentucky had about 70,000 outages at one point. Those numbers have fluctuated throughout the night, but again, there are still more than 500,000 across the state from one end to the other without power tonight. Emergency crews have been responding to cause of damage and power outages throughout the day, and it's just the beginning of what could be a long weekend for power crews. It's going to take a while to get everybody restored. Kentucky Emergency Management Director Jeremy Skinner says much of the work won't even begin until tomorrow.
Let the wind get out, let the storms leave, and then we'll start discussing damage assessments, probably some tonight, but mostly tomorrow when it becomes daylight. And then we still may have some response left, you know, as the storms continue to move east.
Slinker also wants homeowners without power to be safe if they use a generator, making sure it is outside and away from your home. Here's video shared by a viewer here in eastern Kentucky. This is actually from Somerset. As you can see there, a tree almost hits a man on his porch. Certainly a scary situation there as that tree came crashing down. Lots of downed trees and power lines can be found all across the Commonwealth tonight. In London, high winds blew a tree onto a car, trapping a person inside and bringing down live power lines. Responders say the utilities were disconnected and a path to the driver was cut. Officials say they were able to open the door and the driver walked out. There were no injuries reported in that situation. And we might say we've heard no reports of deaths or injuries in our viewing area that we know about. Unfortunately, there were 4 deaths in other parts of the state, though. Several trees were knocked over in Rockcastle County. This tree was blown over on William Street in Mount Vernon. The street was shut down for several hours. Officials say crews were able to clear the tree off the road, and it is now back open. The dangerous high winds caused damage and delays at Bluegrass Airport in Lexington. Major issues there. No flights have been landing or taking off at the airport since about 5:30. Because of the wind, and right before 9 o'clock the terminal closed. The TSA area is currently without power. There is also damage reported on the roof of the airport. One passenger from Lexington was supposed to be heading to Orlando for vacation, and they've been at the airport now for more than 7 hours.
We were expecting delays. We originally got maybe a 20-minute delay. That's when we got here, and that was pretty much from 1 o'clock today. So we weren't expecting much more, but we kind of, based off of the way that the vehicles went, we were expecting a little bit more.
Right now, airport officials are not sure when flights will resume because of the weather. So certainly if you have a flight out tomorrow, you want to call ahead and see what's going on. The wind continues to be a problem out there tonight, and power outages have increased throughout the evening. Crews say they're doing the best they can to handle each call as they receive them as quick as they can. In Corbin, Tracy Raines says it's best just to stay put where you are if you can, and they will try to reach you if it's an emergency.
Just stay in the safest place, or stay where you are and be as safe as possible, and we will get to you as quickly as we possibly can.
Kentucky Power posted on Facebook tonight, quote, crews are conducting damage assessment and making repairs. It's too early in the restoration process to provide accurate restoration times. The high winds were a major issue today for truck drivers. Several semis overturned on the interstates today. One caused a major backup on I-64 in Lexington, and as Chad Hedrick shows us, one driver says he's lucky to be alive.
Terrifying moments for these semi-drivers as their trucks were blown on their sides Friday.
And this is the first incident I've ever had in my life.
Eric Hahn has been driving trucks for over 20 years. He hopes the moment he toppled over is a fear he'll never feel again.
I was on the ramp. I'm less than 6 miles from the house, and all of a sudden, a gust of wind came, picked our tractor up and my trailer, and threw everything that I had in there on top of my body. Like I said, I'm lucky to be alive right now.
Eric's semi flipped on the exit ramp to exit 69 eastbound on I-64 in Georgetown. Just about 4 miles down the interstate, several semis on their sides near the Scott-Fayette County line. Trailers mangled and loads dumped all over. Traffic backed up 4 miles.
Just didn't see it coming because all the bad wind had subsided from Elizabethtown, and it just had slowed down, and I was in the best case scenario. I'm home.
For Eric, it's a lesson he will never forget and hopes other drivers take caution when driving through strong, gusty winds.
Hey guys, don't blink. All it takes is 1 second, that's it. You know, like I said, I'm a very careful driver, but this case scenario, it wasn't anything and it was in my control.
Thankful to be going home relatively unharmed.
I'm gonna be okay through the grace of God.
In Scott County, Chad Hedrick, WYMT Mountain News.
And the driver is thankful for 2 people who witnessed his trailer tip over. He says they helped him get out of the cab. Kentucky Power officials shared several tips on how to stay safe if you were impacted by wind damage tonight. First, stay away from downed power lines. They say lines can still carry an electric current that can cause serious injuries or even kill you. Officials say if you plan to use an alternate heat source, make sure it's in good working order. You should never use lanterns, heaters, fuel-fired stoves, or burn charcoal without proper ventilation to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning and fires. They also say if you use a portable or RV generator, do not plug the generator into your circuit box. And remember, you can always stay weather aware with the First Alert Weather app. To download, just scan this QR code or search for it in the Apple App Store or on Google Play. You can get the latest weather alerts and radar there. We also encourage you to download this, the WYMT News app. Download that QR code. There you can find the latest breaking news, all of our weather stories today, and any closings if they come in. If you lose power, the apps will work without Wi-Fi. To some other news tonight, state police are investigating after a man involved in a pursuit later died at McDowell ARH. Floyd County Sheriff's deputies say a vehicle pursuit and then a foot pursuit led to the arrest of 43-year-old Stephen Moore of Eastern. Police say after Moore was taken into custody, he became unconscious and appeared to be suffering a medical emergency. Deputies administered first aid and Moore was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. His body was sent to the state medical examiner's office for an autopsy. Also in Floyd County, 4 people are facing drug charges. It happened after a traffic stop earlier this week in Betsy Lane. Police say they found meth and heroin. 39-year-old Jeremy Boyd of Banner, 56-year-old James Huff of Pippapassus, 44-year-old Shauna Huff of Pippapassus, and 38-year-old Pamela Hall of Printer face various charges and were taken to the Floyd County Detention Center. A woman was arrested in London after she was found with more than a pound of meth. 41-year-old Jessica Creech of Harlan was arrested on Wednesday and charged with trafficking in a controlled substance. Officials with the Laurel County Drug Interdiction Task Force say they conducted an operation in London that resulted in the seizure of roughly 1 pound of meth, 4 ounces of cocaine, and a small amount of marijuana. Creech was taken to the Laurel County Detention Center. Alice Lloyd College in Knott County is honoring a 2013 graduate who died in a house fire yesterday. 34-year-old Daniel Sloan died in the Pippapassus community. Officials say the Alice Lloyd College grad remained involved with the Eagle community. Now the college has a plan to help the Sloan family as they host NCCAA Mideast Region Tournament games.
And we decided that we would take the proceeds from the gate admissions and donate them to the Sloan family to help with their expenses during this time.
The first game was tonight at 6, but you can still catch the region final at 2 p.m. tomorrow at the Perry Campus Center. One Prestonsburg man has a new art display at the Mountain Arts Center spotlighting his stitching. Clifford Bruce Austin is a fan of history with a focus on the Civil War. That and his work as a reenactor brought him to the world of sewing. He now repairs vintage sewing machines and uses them to create quilts, and some of them are on display now at the MAC.
you're looking at, I have made right now, this is 115. I'm working on number 116 right now since 2015. And on about as many different sewing machines. So this is just a small part of my collection.
This month is National Quilt Month, so Austin says now is the perfect time to check out his pieces. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, Kentucky is not the only state dealing with crazy weather. We'll look at issues across the nation.
Plus, cooler weather on the way into the region as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. Details on a quieter weekend coming up after this.
IMT Weather, sponsored by Community Trust Bank, building communities built on trust.